Race to make the last four is in the final phase in the Party Poker US Open. 3 men through, 2 others wait nervously for their chance. Joshua Filler is without doubt the player to watch in this year's US Open. He's the first player through to the last 4 at the expense of Spain's Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. The German cleared the first 6 racks with ease. Ruiz came back, but the margin at that stage was too great, and no matter what the fight back was, Filler just eased away, eventually winning 11-4. Jeffrey De Luna kept the proud Filipino tradition in 9-ball alive with a convincing win over Alex Pagulayan. De Luna dominated the early stages and held off a late fight back from Pagulayan before closing out the match to win 11-5. De Luna now has the daunting task of taking on Filler in the first semi-final. A remarkable third quarter-final saw Liu Haitao storm into a 9-3 lead, just 2 racks away from a place in the semi-finals. But Chang Yulung hadn't read the script. He doggedly fought back, eventually drawing level after 20 racks. It all came down to a decider, and the man with the momentum on his side won. Confirmation of those results then, but now comes the race to fill the last spot. And one thing is guaranteed, that player will be from China. Attempting to join Filler, De Luna and Chang is Wang Can and Wu Jiaqing. Time then to meet the players. Commentary from Michael McMullen and Jim Weich.
Good opening break.
Yeah, he's got the 1 and the 3 down, and he's got a shot at the 2.
Yeah, and he really is a dynamic player, Jiaqing. And if he gets his tail up, I'll tell you, he can run away and hide in a match fast.
Originally from Taipei, and that's who he was representing when he won the World Championship as a teenager all those years ago.
Yeah, I remember that well. I was actually there. It was in Kaohsiung, and his grandmother was in attendance. 16 years of age he was.
His grandmother was probably only middle-aged.
This looks like a great start for him. Took out the crowd favorite in the quarterfinals, or sorry, in the last 16, Shane Van Boening, en route to the quarterfinals.
Yes, thereby ending Van Boning's chances of that unprecedented 6th US Open, for this year anyway.
You can see how effortless he is too. Just get a quick example. So natural, talented.
Yeah, he's a nice casual demeanor around the table as well.
Yeah, and he wastes little time. Very confident player. Very much a rhythm. And you will rarely see that get broken. 9 deposited. And he starts it out with a break and run out. 1-0 to Wu Jiaqing.
And Wu Jiaqing has carried that into the match. He rifles through those balls.
Yes, he does. A ton of power. But he's going to be pushing out here unless he wants to exercise the jump. And we saw a few jump shots played by him against Shane Van Boening, and highly successful. But this one Oh, pardon me. He can see the one. I thought he had made the one off the break, Michael. It's a thin cut on this one into the side pocket. I was looking at the blue too.
Yeah, the 8 was the one that he made off the break.
Well, this is a very thin cut, just enough to be able to see it.
But that was always
9.
the thing.
Look
oh,
at the
look
9.
at this. Oh.
Very lucky.
Well, I was going to say, at that angle, he had limited control over where the cue ball was going to run. It was very unpredictable. It certainly was, but it worked out to his advantage because, entirely unpredictably, it flicked off the 4, onto the 9, into the middle pocket. 2-0.
And he would have been on the 2 anyway, as you see the 9 into the side again. But chances are he wouldn't have minded that shot had the 9 stayed on the table. Nailed that break. And the 1 sitting perfect.
Yeah, and an easy shot to get on the 2 as well.
Yeah, this is looking like a 3-pack he's going to put on Wang Can to open this quarterfinal match right away under pressure.
Well, he's only played 11 shots on the match, and he's already on the brink of a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what he was planning there, unless he intended to cannon the 9 and missed it. But he's gotten very wayward with the cue ball. And the 3's the opposite end of the table, so not easy position to hit. Well, once again, a wayward positional effort from Wu. The good news for him is he's bumped the 8 into the 4 and tied those 2 up. Not a bad effort. Effectively missing it on the pro side. He knew it would run safe if he overcut it. But I think Wang Can is quite pleased to be at the table in this rack, because after the break, it looked like it was going to be a formality.
Just looking to halt the early momentum, of which Wu Jiaqing has plenty.
Well judged. It'll be a jump shot, but that was very well judged by Can there.
It's been smooth progress so far for Wu Jiaqing. He's just been made to feel a little uncomfortable now.
And you can see what he's looking at. Given that the 4 is tied up, he's looking at the billiard to the 9. Try and send it over towards that corner pocket. Slice of good fortune yet again.
Extension called.
Well, it almost looks here like Wang Can just follow through. Well, he's going to try and draw back then. Draw behind the 4 and the 8. Well, he hasn't accomplished it this time. And what's more, if that 9 isn't in the path off 2 cushions, Wu would like to try and take the cue ball straight down towards the 4 and the 8. It's just a question of whether that 9 takes that angle away. That was a careless shot from Wang Can. Just taking the 3 and then looking for a good aggressive shot to play safe here on the 4. And there doesn't look to be much more than being able to try to get that cue ball behind the 7. Just a thin clip on the 4. The 4 will be staying there, but he'd like to just try and get that cue ball behind that 7.
Called.
The graphic indicating Wang Can there, but it is Wu Jiaqing at the table.
Just the thinnest of contacts here. Well, there wasn't much applause. And the jump cue is out.
He's made the hit, but in every other respect that shot's gone wrong. The only thing you'd say about this is it's by no means certain he'll land on the 7 coming round the table. If he can, though, should be 3-0, albeit by a more circuitous route than looked likely.
Nicely controlled. Well, looks like he's going to get to the finish line in this rack anyway. Just took him a little longer. But still, no, he hasn't given Wang Can anything with which to build any confidence. You've got to believe that these two will know each other pretty well, having played in tournaments back in China.
But here in the USA, it's Wu Jiaqing very much in control. He leads Wang Can 3-0.
Welcome back to the 2019 US Open, and here at the Mandalay Bay, it's our last remaining quarter-final. Wang Can against Wu Jiaqing. Wu won the opening 3 racks and looked on course to win the 4th, but he stumbled on the 5-ball. Wang was unable to take advantage, and Wu returned to clear and extend his lead to 4. This is now the 5th.
Nothing down this time.
First dry break of the match. But look where he's left him, hooked on the one.
That's just the way 9-ball can run. You get shut out for 4 racks. Then when your opponent breaks dry, you come to the table with nothing.
Yeah, and with the 1-ball slap in the middle of the table there.
Push out called.
It's pretty good chance to run out from there. Well, I was going to say it would be easy to get on the 2 whenever the 1 is potted, and it still is now, even after that.
I don't know whether he wanted to leave the cue ball out in the middle of the table like this, though. I mean, he's got a number of options to try and play safe here. And being able to cue at the white very comfortably. Just wondering if Wang Can didn't play that push out a little quick. Maybe a little frustration in that stroke.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Whatever he was trying to do, it wasn't that. Oh, but no doubt about what the intention was there.
How about that shot? A little easier to take these on when you're 4-0 in front. And he's got position to the 2.
It's a numbers game, Jim, in terms of the growth of a sport, and we know China is the most populated country in the world by some distance, and 9-ball really seems to be taking off there at the moment. Just given the sheer volume of people there, this just looks like the start of a tidal wave coming from there of top players that could take over the sport.
Well, you know, you're going to be guaranteed a Chinese player in the semifinals here in the U.S. Open, with both of these two hailing from China.
Well, at the risk of repeating myself, this looks ominous. A little bit of work to do in this shot here, but the way things have been going, you'd be surprised if it isn't 5-0 in a minute or so from now. And again, Wang Can did have the chance to do something about it.
Yeah, for me, played a very weak push out. Never even considered that Wu would take the bank shot on. But regardless, where he left that white would have been a very simple task for Wu to play a good safety too. And 5-0 is a certainty.
You have to wonder how much longer this can go on before it'll start to look insurmountable for Wang Can. It's a huge task already, trailing 5-0. Oh, that's fantastic. He's got a ball down, easy one, straightforward shot to land on the 2. The 4 is the ball down. 3, of course, sitting right over the pocket there, so off we go again.
Well, the good news for Wang Can is following this rack, he'll be able to make a quick trip to the restroom.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to have to wait very long. I mean, we've seen some great recoveries. We saw one in the last match, but you've got to be in the right frame of mind to do it. You're not going to turn around a match if your head isn't right, and all the signs are that Wang Can's is not at the moment. You're a bit surprised, Jim, that Wu Jiaqing hasn't gone on to do a lot more in the game, bearing in mind that he was world champion at such an early age.
Well, I know that he quit the game for a while, Michael, and I'm not sure what he was doing. When he relocated from Taiwan over to China, there were reasons, and I'm not absolutely certain what they were, but I know there was a spell that he didn't really compete for a while. I don't know whether it was a personal choice or something that might have been forced. But, you know, it's 14 years on now since he won the world title, and 30 years of age, still a young man, and his best is easily in front of him.
Of course, he was one half of the China team that won the World Cup of Pool last year, along with Lu Hai Tao, who's probably lying down in a darkened room at the moment. They beat Estonia, Australia, Spain, Taipei, and then in the final they played Austria, who were trying to be the first team ever to retain the title. And they beat them by 10 racks to 3, having lost 9-1 to Austria in the semi-final the year before. Wu Jiaqing already more than halfway to victory. He's totally in command here, leading 6-0.
Welcome back to this quarter-final between Wang Can and Wu Jiaqing. Wu in charge, having won the opening 6 racks. This is now the 7th. Wang yet to pot a ball. Commentary from Michael McMullen and Jim Weich.
Wang Can has yet to pocket a ball. 6-0. Wu settles into the break here for rack number 7.
I've no idea what that baseball term means, Jim, but I'm guessing it's not a good thing when it happens to you.
You don't want to be at the receiving end of a shutout, put it that way. And once again, everything in the open, and he's got a perfect break. You know, you hear a lot of funny stories in the pool world, that's for sure. Michael, you and I have shared a few, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to come. But a good friend of ours and a real friend of the sport, Chris Renfro, sent me a little message about Wang Can. He says, "Here's your Wang Can story." Well, this is quite funny. I guess he was making his first trip over to the U.S. and he played in Body's Ultimate 10-Ball Challenge. He was only 19, was Wang Can then, and he knew no English whatsoever. Got off the plane, he flew into Biloxi, and he took a taxi to Tunica. The cab cost him $500 US. So welcome to America, Wang Can. Probably had to win the tournament to break even.
Did that leave him with the Biloxi Blues? That was a movie or something, wasn't it? Well, listen, which of us hasn't got a story like that from one of our early trips overseas? We've all done things like that.
Well, that, I mean, that's, you don't want to laugh about something like that. It's almost like a horror show, but holy cow.
It's probably what he was looking downbeat about earlier. He was probably remembering that story.
Probably thinking, this nice guy's willing to give me a ride. It's a long ride. What a night. They got very friendly people here in America.
Well, the good news is he is guaranteed $6,250 for getting this far, but it's looking increasingly unlikely he's going to increase that to the $12,000 you're guaranteed for being in the semi-finals.
And Chris's company, Outsville, also supplied the Accuracks that were all employed for the double elimination stages. So again, Chris, thank you very much. True friend of the sport.
So here comes, sorry, Jim.
As you say, he's got lots of good stories too.
Yeah, that was certainly one. And this is a break and run out. Wu Jiaqing continues his relentless progress. If anything, he's stepping it up a gear. And he's now 7-0 up.
And a quick reminder of how day 2 in the knockout stages has progressed. Quarterfinals pretty one-sided apart from the last match. Lu Haito, Wu Jiaqing's countryman, he thought he'd be facing off with him possibly in the semis, but Chang Yulong, an unbelievable comeback, trailed 9-3 at one stage in that quarterfinal for scraping home in a hill dramatic win. I'm not too sure whether Wu has a path through to this one, but if he does, and he can get into the cue ball a little bit, he may want to try and dislodge the 4 and the 8. Not sure how much of the one he can see. Oh, he couldn't see enough to pocket it, so welcome to the table, Wang Can.
Let's hope he knows the way to it.
7-0.
He's done well in the US Open before, Wang Can. He was 13th back in 2012. He was a quarter-finalist playing for China in the World Cup back in 2014. He's been 9th in a World Championship in the past. The man who ended his hopes in that championship is the man who's well on top of him in this match. Much closer that day, though, 11-9. He's also done well in the China Open, which has become one of the biggest events in the game.
Well, that was a great hit. And he's smiling because he can't believe his luck. He's actually opened the 8 and the 4. Just flicked him open, and he noticed it right away. He's left Wu a long chance at the 1, but now if Wu gets the 1, the table is set. Far from easy, this one. A lot easier to fire at it when you're 7-0 ahead.
I was going to say, it's not the sort of shot you'd want to face at a hill-hill situation. Particularly with the awkward bridging over the 7 ball.
Yeah, things are really rolling well for Wu right now, believe me. He's got the Midas touch. Pool can be a very cruel game. And Wang Can attest to that.
Well, can he get through to clip this one in?
Yeah, it's close, but apparently he's just looking at contacting the cushion. He's having a look from this end as well, but the 3 is now taken out of commission. 6 has been bunted in front of the 3, so well, he's finally left Wang Can an open look to knock a ball in. Took 8 racks before it finally materialized.
Yeah, but even when that does happen, he leaves him with a tough job to get position on the 3. He's just giving so little away here. And that was the thing. The pot was just made so much harder by his efforts to get back for the 3. But that could have turned out worse.
Yeah, who'd begrudge him a little bit of running now? He hasn't had anything yet. He had to play that 1 to try and draw back behind the 3. Certainly increased the degree of difficulty in the pot.
Wu Jiaqing coasted through his first 4 matches by an aggregate score of 44 racks to 8, but then he lost to Su Kai-lun. Had to see off Mieszko Fortuński in the losers qualifying round. Only got through 11-10. And of course that was what set him up for the chance to beat Shane Van Boening earlier today.
Well, Wu's extracted the mistake. A very good safety. And another chance to go yet further in front. Didn't want to be so close to the cushion. The 4 is next, and it looks like the path of the cue ball is going to carry him into the 9 from here, so I don't think he can get back to the left side of the table to attack the 4 next. A little careless. Well, he decided to bank the 3, but again, I can only just shake my head a little bit, because why would you take a more difficult shot if you're still not going to have position? This really has been the one aspect. Even though he's 7-0 ahead, it's tough to find fault with what he's doing. Oh, very good. Very good safety there. And I don't think he can get this off the right side, so he's going to have to go to the left side of the table. And again, he'll be playing this at speed. We've seen a lot of these made. And Wu made one in his last match against Van Boning. Now, if the 6 goes past the 9 into the side, and the 4 goes past the 9 into the bottom corner, this is a chance.
Wang Can must feel like Wu Jiaqing's setup man at the moment. He's just making occasional forays to the table, and he's more often than not in trouble when he comes in. And generally, when they have these little exchanges, these interludes, in among all the potting, just results in Wu Jiaqing getting back in again.
Yeah, that was a great shot on that 4 ball. Obviously, the 6 didn't go by the 9, so he had to thump the 4 in and play the 6 to the corner. Either way, it's going to afford him the rack.
And the really horrible thought in Wang Can's head, surely now, is the prospect of an 11-0 humiliation. It's not inevitable by any means, but it must be somewhere in his head that it could happen, and you don't want it occurring really to anyone out in this big stage at the US Open. But it's only 3 racks away from happening now. Wu Jiaqing 8, Wang Can 0.
Welcome back to this very one-sided quarter-final. Wu Jiaqing has won 8 racks. Wang Can has not only failed to win a rack, he's also failed to pot a ball. In the 9th rack, things didn't get any better for Wang. Wu broke but had no shot on the 1. Wang had an opportunity, which he failed to take, allowing Wu to step in and clear. This is now the 10th.
9 racks in, and Wang Can has still not potted a single ball in this match. And Jim, you could see how that would happen if someone was just breaking and running out all the time, but it's not been that sort of match.
No, he has had a few chances, but in fairness, the scoreline is indicative of exactly how the play has gone in every aspect. Wu has benefited from all the running. He's obviously played considerably better, and you see the breaks. He's broken unbelievably well. The only thing that's really stopped Wu from really steamrolling and keeping Wang Can in his chair is the fact that he's lost the cue ball a few times. But here, another gilt-edged opportunity for him.
This could end up being the greatest contrast between the 2 matches in a session we have ever seen. An 11-10 epic, followed by what could very well now be an 11-0 whitewash. You know, we were talking about how he hasn't really built as we would have expected on winning the World Championship as a teenager in 2005, but as I mentioned, he did win the World Cup of Pool. He's also won the China Open, which has become one of the biggest events on the globe. And in 2015, the 10th anniversary of his world title, he was only a rack away from getting to the World Championship final again. So the nightmare continues, Jim, for Wang Can.
$10-0 in the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open 9-ball championships. And who would believe that you get an onslaught like this?
And nothing is the operative word, because that's exactly what Wang Can has potted in the whole match.
So here we go. Ball knocked in off the break. Or was there? Maybe not.
No, he's dry.
Pardon me.
I think we're finally going to see Wang Can break his duck here, because he's got the combination. The 1 and the 6. Oh, I don't believe that. It looked absolutely certain that he was bound to pot a ball there. He's waited until the 11th rack, and it just shows how lacking in confidence he must be, and understandably so, I guess, to miss that. And that could be his last shot. Wu Jiaqing surely going through now. He'll be guaranteed at least $12,000. And the chance, if he can win 2 more matches, to become US Open champion for the first time. They're playing for big money tomorrow. Goes up to 25,000 when you're in the final, 50,000 for the winner. What do you think, Jim, if he does win this? He's a player who's won the World Championship. How does the US Open, in terms of prestige, because it certainly is a lot more history, compare?
Oh, for me, this tournament's much harder to win than the than the World Championship. The field that comprised this year's U.S. Open is bar none the toughest field I've ever seen assembled for a pool tournament. Fully intended that, but the good news for Wang Can is the pain isn't going to last much longer.
So a total contrast to earlier. An absolute epic, which saw Chang Yu-Lung go through. And now he knows who he'll play. A truly astonishing match of 9-ball pool. Wang Can did not pot a single ball. Wu Jiaqing wins 11 racks to 0. He's through to the last 4 of the US Open here in Las Vegas. What a day in store tomorrow, Jim.
A remarkable performance from Wu Jiaqing to complete the whitewash over Wang Can and book his place in the last 4, joining Joshua Filler, Jeffrey DeLuna and Chang Yu-Lung in the semi-finals of the Party Poker US Open.